Hey, welcome to Mr. Smith Garage. Thanks for joining me today. We are under Jill, the 82 Vanagon. Jill is air cooled, and so um, it's been a little bit since I've done an oil change on Jill. So I'm going to turn you this way, show you what we're doing under here. A couple of important things to remember on the air cooled Vanagon. So if you are familiar with the air-cooled Volkswagens, back in the day when we used to do all these oil changes, we would oil change from here, and there would be a series of bolts and nuts around here that would take off the screen, and you'd be able to um, kind of clean the screen off, change your oil. This would be your oil leakage spot. But here's the thing, on this vehicle, this is super important. Um, this is not your oil drain plug. This right here is your oil drain plug, the little one. So uh, I would recommend you never ever take your vehicle to an oil change place, like a Premier or a Jiffy Lube, if you have one of these engines. If for some reason they decide to use this as your oil drain plug, this whole thing will come out, which is fine. But when they put it back in, this bolt right here, the other side of it is connected into where your camshaft is and where the case split comes together. So if they were to tighten that too tight, because it's only supposed to be like, I think it's 8 foot-pounds. If they do it too tight, then that would break that off and you would not be able to get it back on without pulling the engine, splitting the case, and putting a new piece in there. So that's super important to remember. This is your oil drain plug here. And so that's what we're going to go with. We're going to do an oil change. We'll speed it up just to show you that oil change, but wanted to give you that insight. Okay, I just drove the vehicle. It's pretty hot. My oil was at 180, but it should drain out of here pretty well, being that warm. Just don't want to burn my hand. Yeah, that's looking pretty dark. I'm glad I'm changing it. It's been a while. I do run synthetic oil on this vehicle, primarily because it gets hot. And that old dinosaur oil just doesn't like the heat. Seems like my synthetic oil stays a little cooler than the dinosaur oil. So that's the idea. Just going to pull off my oil cap so we can breathe a little bit. Okay, I'm back. While we were letting that oil drain, I just checked my copper washer. Seems to be okay. I'm going to put it back on. It's not a smash washer, it's just copper so that it kind of seals up against that case really well. These are aluminum case vehicles. And so what I'm going to do now is, if we can make this work, I'm going to put that over just a little bit because we're going to take off this oil filter. See, it was just hand tight, so not super tight. We might start to see some oil seepage here. There it comes. Just don't want to burn my hand. That's not too hot. It's warm, but it's not too hot. Okay, we got it in the spot. Now that was a Fram. I don't typically use Fram. I typically do Mall, and so today we go with the Mall. I'm just gonna let that seep and drip for a little bit. Okay, so here's my Mall OC28. It's the short one. I like the short one because it doesn't hang down so far. But I am going to fill it up with some oil before I put it up there, just because I don't want to have no oil pressure when I put it back in. So, oop, you can see it adjusting itself as I pour it in there. I could probably still put a little bit more in there. Okay. And have you take a look at that just so you can see. That's where it goes. It's right up there. Put you back here so you can see what's going on. So the key now is to lift this up. Get a little bit of oil around that ring. Lift this up without spilling it. And find the right spot. There we go. I think we found the spot. And we're just going to get it on there really good and tight. Now, see where it hangs? It's just below everything else right here. If you get that longer filter, it hangs down pretty far, and you wouldn't want to knock this off while you're driving. That would be a bad thing. So I do have an external oil filter on this vehicle. It's up underneath. You haven't seen some of my previous videos. And so because it's higher than everything else, sometimes it takes a while to drain out of there. But we're going to go ahead and put this back on. And after I usually get a couple of threads in, then I'm going to come in and clean this. Spin it on. You want to make sure you're on this one for sure, not hand tight, but you don't want to over tighten it either. Hand tight, it could vibrate out. You lose all your oil on the freeway or wherever you're at. But you want it to be snug so that that copper smashes in between the aluminum and just not hard enough that you're going to strip it out. And that's it, except for filling it up. Don't forget to fill up your oil up on top. That's what we're going to do next. So once again, if you're not familiar with the air-cooled Vanagon, which I only did it for a few years, 80, 81, 82, and I think 83 the beginning of the year. I'm going to show you a couple things here. I'm cleaning the oil off of my camera. Sorry about that. Hopefully you can all see what's going on. Yep. So here is where your oil cap is, and it actually is set up so that if when you take it off, you just stick it in. Oh, you stick it in the side here. Take it off the oil cap. Stick it here. It holds this open for you. This comes up like so. Pull it out just once, like it does a little click, and then that makes it a little bit easier to pour your oil in. Here is a California emissions Volkswagen air-cooled Vanagon with all of the bells and whistles when it comes to smog. So it is a Hall sensor ignition, so it's electronic ignition. Everything kind of runs through those pieces there into the distributor. Inside the distributor, you've got a magnet with some sensors that run that around. I also have an oil pressure added on here, oil pressure sender. And I'm just looking around to make sure everything's looking pretty good. All my hoses are on there the way they should be. Don't have any hoses popped off of anywhere that would cause a vacuum leak. My smog stuff is all hooked up, which it should be, and everything is in order as it should. So I'm just going to pour some oil in, and we'll be done with it. Oh, if you didn't know where your dipstick was, here's your dipstick here. You can access it through here. So just pull it straight out, and that goes down to the bottom of the engine. So thanks for joining me, Mr. Smith Garage. Hope you like this one. This is just real quick, but just wanted to show you. The important thing is, don't pull the wrong bolt out of the bottom of the engine for the oil change. Make sure you do the oil change bolt, which is your drain plug, not your screen bolt. Okay. That could be a mess. Could really be a mess, especially if they're using like those impact things and they just zip it off and zip it back on with 20, 30 pounds of pressure and break that thing right off. And then they wouldn't even be able to hold oil. So once again, thanks for joining. Like, subscribe. Hope you enjoy all the other videos that we're putting out there. And we'll see you next time.